some Woodubend, some bright yet fall colors, and I've already applied some decoupage paper here, you can see. So let's get started. I'm just going to pull up Facebook really quick just to make sure if there are any comments that I can answer them. And if you have any questions on Instagram, I will be sure to answer those also. Let's see, Pickin' Boots Vintage. For those of you that are interested in a quick hack on how to apply the, is that Dom? Hey Dom, my little boy. If you want a quick hack on how to do the decoupage paper without having hours of dry time because you're using Mod Podge, check out my reel. I'm doing 30 tips in 30 days. Today's day 17, and I show a quick hack on putting on decoupage paper. All right, let me just make sure that I am here. I am here, yay. All right, let's get started. So, I have a bunch of these, and I'm going to be using these to put on my piece. I also have some Woodubend trims that I may put on also. I'm not quite sure yet. Then I have some fall colors here, muscadine, wine, and Florida orange. These are, ooh, let me see if I can get these in there. Hey, Kathy. These are some bright colors, so these will be fun too. Fall is coming, even though it does not feel like it. It is scorching hot. But I'm excited. I wish it would cool down a lot faster in Florida, but we don't get that cold, so I cannot complain that much. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to decide where we're going to put these. I have a couple of these Woodubends, and the nice thing about these is they're made of composite pieces of wood chips, wood dust, and so when you heat them up, they bend and they're pliable. Right now, they're hard as rock. They're not going to do anything, but once you heat them up with a heat gun, blow dryer, they will become bendable, and you can put them on wherever you want. And my wood glue is missing. I just had it, so I'm gonna have to grab my wood glue. Darn it. Hold that thought. If you have a question, put it in the comments. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Oh. I'm back. I had it out here, but I had to do a promo picture for my IOD live that I'm doing tomorrow, and I had to snag the glue because I needed it for my picture. But I'm back and I have the glue. All right, so let's get started. First of all, we're going to use this one first. I have 4 of the exact same one, 5, because I'm going to be cutting 4 of them but leaving 1 the same because I want them to match because they're going to be sporadically put on here. So I'm going to grab my heat gun, and I just have a quarter cable heat gun. And sometimes these get really hot, especially if they're small. So I have my, I've learned the hard way. I have my needle nose pliers, and I'm going to hold them with that, and then turn on my heat gun. And what this is going to do is going to make my little Woodubend, turn up the heat a little bit, pliable. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. Give me a minute to heat it up. One of the benefits of having a Woodubend, and not just a simple applique that you get from your craft store, is that this will form to your piece that you're working on. So if you try to bend one of those ones from the store, you could possibly break it. But with the Woodubend, you heat it up and watch what happens. It is now bendable. Look at that. I can bend it if I wanted to go around the leg of the buffet here, but I don't. I simply want to add it here. But if you notice here, it is this is a serpentine, so it's bent a little. Let me put this down just a tad. There we go. I have it on a stand that follows me, and it really does follow me pretty good. So with this serpentine front, it's kind of like bowed. Now the Woodubend will apply and lay flat rather than some of the other appliques that you might get at the store. Those won't lay flat. All right, so you simply just put on a little bit of regular old wood glue. I just have Tite Bond wood glue. And I'm going to put it on right here. I'm going to grab my heat gun and I'm just going to apply a little bit more heat. Now because the buffet is standing up straight, I want to make sure that it stays on and not falls because of the wood glue. So I'm just going to use a little bit of painter's tape. If I weren't doing this on camera, I'd probably lay the buffet flat on the ground and then I wouldn't have to worry about the tape. But I don't want it to shift or shake, so I'm going to just stick that there for now. And that'll stay right in place. So now I have a few more of these. Now watch what I'm going to do with these. Let me just heat them up real quick. Now, all these Woodubends come in all different shapes, sizes, themes. I'm sure you've seen these before, but if you haven't, they come in flowers, dragons, pediments. They come from a centimeter big to like 2 feet long. So they're very, very diverse. Now here, I don't want to use the whole Woodubend, because I simply want to just put, see this little bare area right here? Let me move over here so you can, right here. My Instagram is it's harder to see because I'm kind of blocking it, but when I put it on, you'll be able to see it. So I'm going to heat this up. Now I don't want to use it all. So when you heat it up, it also, besides making it pliable, it makes it very easy to cut. So I have my scissors here. And I'm just going to cut it. Now, see how easy that is? I cut it and it didn't break or snap because it was heated up. It is still pliable. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. I wanted to use the same pieces because it matches what I just put on here. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it right here. You see that? Heat it up just a tad. I like this shape because it matches the paper. I'm going to zoom my Instagram out just a tad so you can see a little wider. So just give me 1 second. Oops, I want to go. There we go. Now follow me. All right, so we're going to put some painter's tape on just to hold it in place, just temporarily. Okay. Now we're going to do the same for the other sections on this buffet. And I can save the leftover pieces for another project. So simply heating it up with my heat gun. I've heard you can put these on a pancake griddle, which I wish I had here at the store because I could have had all of these laying out and ready to go, but I don't have one. Maybe the next time I go to a thrift store, I'll have to pick one up. Okay, that should be good. Should be able to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to cut it the exact same way. You can use scissors, you can use a razor blade. However, I chose scissors because it's safer. There we have it, see? Now I'm going to just simply glue. Press on. Heat it up just a tad. And then I'm going to tape in place. Now these are not going to stay this color. They come in this natural wood looking color. You can stain them, paint them, you can do a lot to them. All right, so I'm going to heat up 2 at the same time. See how this goes. All right, so I got 2 here. Get my heat gun. And I'm just doing this to save time. What I like about my heat gun is on the side here, you can turn up and adjust the heat. So you don't want it to be too hot, but you don't want to be cool. All right, let's see if that'll work, if that was enough time. Go ahead and cut these down. See how easy these are? If you tried to cut one of those other appliques, it would just, well, you probably wouldn't be able to cut it, but or it would probably break. Let me just show you the parts that I've cut off. So now I have a bunch of these left over, so I can use them for something else. So I'm just going to keep these because sometimes when you get a piece of furniture and it's missing some of the molding or trim, you can heat this up and you can bend it anyway. I can make this straight. I can cut off just a little bit of piece. So I always save my trimmings for other projects. Wood glue. Make sure I'm putting it on in the right direction. Oh. Heat it up. Where'd it go? There it is. A little bit of tape. Might as well get the other piece of tape ready. Tape you in place. And the last one. A little bit of heat. And tape it in place. Okay, so while those, whoops, my chair got stuck on the cord. Okay, so while these are drying, I want to talk about the trim. The trim. Woodubend has a bunch of trim, and it looks like this. If I were to try to unravel that, I'd probably break that. But when you use a heat gun, let me show you. Got my heat gun again. Get over here. And I start to heat it up. You'll notice it starts to unravel because, look at that, pretty cool, huh? So what this does is it's going to make it pliable so I can use it. I was thinking about putting it around this drawer here. I thought that'd be kind of neat. To do that, though, I really need to take the drawer off to get it to line up. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is to unravel one of the Woodubend trims. Oh, I just broke that piece. That piece wasn't heated up. Okay, so now let me show you. It was pliable and bendable because you can see it unraveled itself. Now that it's cooling off, it's getting hard again. So I want to be very careful that I don't break this. Even though if I do break them, the Woodubends are so versatile. If you break them, you heat them up and you glue them together, you stick them on, you can't even tell that it was broken. All right, so I put the decoupage paper on. I've got the Woodubend moldings on, and I want to lay out the colors of this piece. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, so let's go ahead. I'm going to take the drawer out, and I'm going to put my bendings on, my Woodubend. Let's see if I can get the drawer out. Oh, I have it taped. Hold on. There we go. The tape was blocking the drawer from opening. Let me try that again. There we go. Drawer out. Oh, and here are the handles. I'll put these up here. All right. So now let's go ahead and just put the trimming on real quick. This is the trim I'm going to use. Let me get my pliers again. And my heat gun, and this is a very fragile trim, so I want to be very careful. You see when I start heating it up, it's going to just start falling. Hold on, I need to untwist you. There we go. Look, how cool is that? The trick is going to be getting it glued on while it is still warm. It's so thin that it dries and cools pretty quick. So I'm going to stick it like this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on first. I'm going to put glue around my whole edge, and then I'm going to come back and apply the Woodubend. So let me get my glue. And if the glue is a little bit too wide, it's okay, because I'm going to be painting over it anyway, and the glue dries clear. I can always wipe it off once I get the trim on here too. Once the trim is in place, I can go ahead and wipe the extra glue off. I'm not doing a very good job here. It's a little messy, but the end result is going to be beautiful. Okay, let's go back to the heat. I have a couple different rolls of the trim because I'm not exactly sure how much it's going to take. So let me heat again. I just want to make sure I'm getting it straight. And if I happen to snap a little piece, it's okay. It's very forgiving because what I do is heat it up and you mold it and you bend it. Trying to guess how long the drawer is. Okay. So I'm not sure if the Facebook can see this, so what I'll do is I'll put it on, then I'll lift it up. I think Instagram can see it. So I'm just simply laying it out and putting it on, and I just broke a piece, but that's okay. It snapped. And then heat it up, make sure that it's still pliable. There we go. This does become a little bit messy. All right, let me continue on with the other part here. Thank you for being patient with me. This is a process here, but the end process is going to be gorgeous. Especially when this little trim is painted. A little bit of gilding wax, it'll be gorgeous. Because this was a very plain buffet, so I'm just adding some fun details to it. And when I get done with these details, it's going to look like they were originally put there. Oops, my scissors. Now let me show you what this looks like so you can see close up. I just have the top part done. Making sure it's sticking, and see the top? Look how nice that looks. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this drawer. Scissors. This side. I've used a lot of the Woodubend molding, but this is the first time I'm using a trim along with a drawer. It's a really fine trim, and it's gorgeous. I can't wait to paint on it. Okay, I'm gonna do the bottom part, and then I'll hold it up again and show you. I'm hoping that the pieces I have left are gonna be long enough for this. And be very careful when you're using your heat gun because it's hot. I already have a scar from my heat gun. Owie. Okay, so I have a few dry areas of glue, so I made to go back and add some more. Just to make sure I have enough glue because I want to make sure it sticks and it's permanent. So here you can see that it's gonna, as it heats up, it's gonna uncoil itself. Look how neat that is. Woo! That's how you know it's working. This should be plenty to do the rest of the drawer. So I'm just using, so far, just one of the coils of the Woodubend trims. Let's see how far this one will go down. Because I have the Piedmont here, the other piece, I don't need it to go all the way down. Wow, love it, love it, love it. I do have a lot of extra glue here, but once I get this all on, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe that other glue off. Let me get a rag here for my fingers. Okay, so I just have one little section left, then I'm gonna hold it up so you can see close up. You'll watch this uncoil. All right, come on. For those of you that are just tuning in, if you guys are on Instagram, make sure you follow me. And I am right in the middle of doing 30 tips in 30 days. I am on day 17. Today we talked about a quick hack on applying decoupage paper. Okay, let me just make sure this is going to be straight on the edge. I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure the whole thing, what I just applied, is on, straight, and where it's supposed to be, doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now when I hold this up for you to see, don't mind extra glue that is around the Woodubend. That will dry, you won't see it. Depending on what I'm... If you watched, we were working on this. We put the decoupage paper on. I put that on ahead of time just so it was dry. And then we added the Woodubend moldings. We had this one, and we put the trim on. You can see it right here in the camera. You can see the little bumps. And then we went ahead and we put the medallions on all 4 corners. It was the same piece as this one, but we heated them up and we just cut the extra parts off, saving them for another project, and just glued them on here. Okay, so today we're going to blend. Now, blending can be tricky. It can be frustrating, and it could be a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do very easy basic blending. Hey Jeannie, good morning. Thanks for joining. I try to keep things simple. I don't want to make it too hard. There are several different ways to blend, and you just have to see which way works the best for you. This is the way that I found has worked the best for me. I went ahead and I laid 1 coat of paint down. I needed my base layer because generally you need 2 coats. And especially because I'm going to be working with some Florida orange today. This one is very translucent and takes 2 to 3 coats sometimes. So I did not want to use this as my base coat. This is going to be more of my highlight because see in here, both sides, it has that orangey color. And then I also have muscadine, whatever. I always say it wrong, so I'm going to say it both ways, so I got it covered. Anyway, this will be another color that we're going to use because this is also in here too, a little bit of the muscadine. But the base layer, what I chose was the Dixie Belle Rustic Red. Ooh, I think I may have put Barn Red in the comments, but it's definitely Rustic Red, and I will change that in the description. So, Rustic Red. I put 1 coat all over. I didn't do the top yet purely because I might go ahead and sand that down and then just put some Big Mama's butter on it. It looks really pretty when it's done. But I can decide that later. So let's go ahead and get started. So whenever you are going to blend, I always have a plethora of brushes. I mean, I have more than I'm going to need because you never know when you're going to need them. And let me just grab them. I have them underneath my chair here. I have my favorite brush of all time, the oval medium. And then I have 2 of the small mediums just in case. I have my flat mini because this is my second favorite, my second go-to one right here. And then I have this one called, it's the Best Dang Brush by Dixie Belle. It really was designed for like wax and butter and stuff, but everybody seems to be using it for the blending because it really makes blending easy. So, it's a little wet. I just dried them off, or just washed them because I was playing with paint. We are using water-based Dixie Belle chalk paint, so you want to start with your brushes wet anyway, so that is going to be perfect. So we're going to start, let's start on the drawer here. Now there really isn't that much area here to blend, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm going to open up my Rustic Red. Now I just want to show you how far Dixie Belle paint goes. Now you see this piece behind me? I painted the whole entire thing except for the doors, which have decoupage paper on. So the sides, the front, and the other side, not the top. But look, I barely used any of the paint. Look, it's still right to here. This paint goes far and is worth every penny. So I have plenty of paint left, and this is just a small 8-ounce container. So when people say, oh, chalk paint's too expensive, it goes far and it works beautifully. Worth every penny. All right, so I'm gonna use my favorite brush, my oval medium. I'm gonna start with that, and I'm gonna use my Rustic Red. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to just give it another second coat of paint. I'm going to go around the medallions because I'm probably not going to blend on those. So here I have, now you can tell it looks a little bit different than this color. This is because this is wet and this is what it looks like when it's dry. So I'm going to set that brush aside. Now I want to do a little highlighting, a little blending. And I want to use my Florida Orange. So I'm going to take a whole totally different brush on this. Get just very little. And I'm just going to put some there. Put some here. Now I'm going to take my best dang brush and I'm just going to kind of work it together. So can you see the difference? You can see a little bit of a highlight there. I'm not looking for much. I'm just looking for a little. So you can really see it right here. It will be easier seen once it's dry because right now it kind of blends pretty good here. I'm going to put a little bit more right here. There we go. You can work it in circles, go back and forth, and there you have it. So, I can tell you this right, I'm sitting in front of it, it looks so much better in person than it does on the camera. So, trust me, it looks good. Another tip, while you're blending, you always want to make sure you have your mister bottle handy with just plain water, because when you go to blend your paint and it's becoming a little thick or tacky, almost drying, if you spritz with this, you won't get clumps, you'll keep it nice and even for blending. So always keep that handy when you're blending. Lots of brushes and your mister bottle. Okay, I did not put any of the darker color on here with the Florida Orange, but I'm going to do it down here. So let's go ahead. I'll do both the doors at the same time. So I'm just going to set that down. And I'm going back to my rustic red. And I'm going to give the whole part just another coat. Generally, when you're painting with chalk paint, you always are going to put at least 2 coats on. Sometimes you don't need to, depending on what finish you're going for. But with this finish, I definitely want 2 coats. I'm going to go ahead and get these sides real quick too, since there we go. You also want to make sure that you don't have any drips. So while you're painting on this second coat, kind of just give it a once over to make sure there are no drips. Okay, so now we're going to bring into play the muscadine, which is the darker, the deeper color, with the Florida Orange. Notice I'm using all fall colors. I just love fall. I wish the weather outside was a little more fallish, but that'll come. Again, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to use very little when I apply my 2 colors. So I'm going to put the orange here. Just like that. Then, a new brush, another small oval. And I'm just going to go on top or on the outside of the orange. This one has a purplish tint to it. Set that down. Now, I'm going to go back in and kind of rub it out with my best dang brush. So now I'm getting a little bit of the darker purple, the orange, and then the rustic red. The top shelf is out a little bit, so it's casting a shadow right here. So you may not be able to see the true color based on this, but when I'll eventually will post pictures. And this whole tutorial of all the days I've been working on it will be on my YouTube. Okay, so this is starting to dry a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and mist. Now that is a lot more subtle than kind of I was looking for, so I might go back in and add a little bit more color. I kind of feel like the muscadine or muscadine overshadow the orange that I put on there, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the Florida orange. Another tip, when you're blending, you always want to have a clean rag next to you so you can take your blending brush and offload all the paint that you've been smushing around, because that will also change the color if you have too much of one on there. So we want to make sure we get that off. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to add just a little bit more of the Florida orange. And this is just for highlights, I'm not trying to blend the whole thing. So you can see that better. Now keep in mind, remember I have this shadow because this comes out, so it's kind of giving you an effect that I don't know how to blend. But it's just the shadow of the upper drawer. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Look at this. This is kind of like all just together, and that's exactly what I'm going for down here. Now, we're going to do a little bit of highlighting on the edges and the trim. So I'm going to go back to my base color, which was the rustic red, and I'm going to put that on. I'm just going to work on the outside frame real quick of the, I'm not going to go down to the legs yet. I just want to get this area here. It's always best to work in sections, especially if you're working with something that might dry before you get a chance to work on it. Okay, so here we go. So I've just kind of applied that layer there. Now I want to highlight with the orange because I really like the orange. I just wish it wasn't so translucent, or I would have painted this whole entire thing orange. I'm still using the same orange brush, the oval medium, or oval small, excuse me. Giving me a nice blend. See that on there? So you can see where it's wet here. That's where I added the rustic red and a little bit of the Florida orange, and I just kind of blended that together. This matches this color down here, which is really pretty. Again, being that it's digital, you might not see the true colors, but in person it looks beautiful. All right. Now I just want to get the bottom. And I'm going to take a little bit of my Florida orange, not much, but I'm going to go over the entire section that I just put the rustic red on. I go up the sides here because I have a lot of the orange, so I'm just going to work it in. Just going to tell you, it looks a lot different here than it does on my screen. But, all right, so I'm going to add a little bit more orange here just because I think it needs it. I'm just using the orange brush for a minute. Get it kind of rubbed in. I'm going to get all that extra, because right now it has Florida orange and the rustic red, so I want to wipe that off. I'm going to use my best dang and just kind of go in circles. There we go. So now you can see where I've just highlighted right where the handles go. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so let me continue to do the top on both sides. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have some fun with the medallions. Alright. I'm just going to open this door. I don't want to get any paint on the decoupage paper. And I'm just going to use whatever orange is on here just to blend it in. Well, I forgot I wiped it off, so there's not any. If I feel that I maybe put too much orange on, I just take my rag. These two colors work so well together. How many of you have started decorating for fall already? Anybody? We are having our fall open house, which is called the Fall Frenzy, September 4th here at the store. So we have been trying to get all kinds of fall items ready. Can you see that? Oh, Instagram can't see it. Let me wheel that out for a second. Look how pretty that looks. Okay, let me do the other side. Yeah, so getting back to fall, you really don't feel fall in Florida for a while. It kind of just like skips fall here. All right. Okay, so I'm laying down the rustic red, going back in for a little Florida orange. Gonna blend that together. They work really good together. It's kind of like an ombre right there. Let me go ahead and get the side over here. There we go. So, now what we have to do is I have to do I want to do some of this. Now, if you notice in the decoupage paper, there's a lot of gold in there. See down here? I want to put some gold in there. Now, I don't know if I should use some of the other paint. Maybe I'll dust it with a little bit of orange and then put some gold gilding. Let's test that. Let's get some. I don't want to go heavy because so here's a little bit of the orange. See that okay? Now this is just, I'm just playing. The nice thing about chalk paint and when you're painting, if I put this on and I'm working and I decide I do not like it, I simply paint over it. That easy. Now I also have my gold gilding wax here. The gold gilding wax. This is one of the best products in the Dixie Belle line. The gilding wax is phenomenal. Oh, hey Maureen. Fort Myers, Florida. Always love to see that. so I'm going to put this on the Woodubend trim that we did last week. And let's just see what it looks like. This is like a rope trim. Oh, look at that. Now you can apply the gilding wax with either your finger, a brush, or a rag. Let's pull this up a little so you can see better. And I'm missing a little bit like underneath here, which is okay because I can always go back and erase it, take it off. That's why I generally use my finger, but when I use my finger, it goes a lot slower. I'll get that. I'll just paint over that. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how, with your finger, if you just take your finger, same effect. My goal is that I want to put this over the orange. I'm not really sure how the gold is going to look over the orange, but we're going to let that dry for a minute. We're going to take a peek. Worst case scenario, we just blend the gold with the orange. Here we go. Now, I have two little areas where my finger slipped. So let's just wipe that off. You can generally wipe it off with a baby wipe. I don't have one right here, so I'm just going to use a rag to get that, dry that off pretty good. And I'll just touch that up with a little bit of paint. Sometimes on the videos I tend to go a little bit faster than I should. Ah. What do you think? Do you love the gold? I don't know, looking at it, I feel like I might need to put some trim along the decoupage paper on both of them, and then add some gold to that. So I might have to do that. All right, let's go ahead and put some gold. Ooh. It looks so pretty with the orange. Oh my gosh. Again, this is just gold gilding wax on top of the paint. But I tell you what, I'm glad I put the orange down before the gold gilding because it is gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I just saw a couple hearts. Thank you. Wow. I tell you what, this gilding wax is so easy to use and it makes such a dramatic. All right, so what I'm going to do is now on my medallions, the 4 that I have that I put on, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dust them with just a little bit of orange and then put the gold on there because I just absolutely love the way this turned out. Again, I will take pictures and I'll put them on my Facebook page up close so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so I have them all dusted with a little bit of orange. I'm going to give that a second to dry. And so the hardware, which I do not have right here with me right close by, I'm going to also be using the gold gilding wax on it too because it's just so pretty. This you can put on your piece, your wood piece, or you put on your hardware. It is just very, very versatile. But keep in mind the gilding wax is oil-based. So the cleanup is a little bit different than with water-based. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just, I know the orange paint still might be a little wet, but I'm going to go ahead and put the gold on anyway. Because it kind of blends. Ooh, that looks so pretty. I'm going to bring this one in so maybe you can see it better. Can you see this one? I'm trying to get, I have 2 cameras here, so I want to get it. other two. Now, a good rule of thumb for when you use the gilding wax is for the peaks, and like wax is for the valleys. So if you're working on a piece that has lots of grooves, gilding is for peaks, wax is for the valleys. Oh, and if you're interested in any kind of painting tips on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, you already know this. If you do not, I'm right in the middle of 30 tips in 30 days. I am on day 24, so there's 6 more days of tips. Okay, so this is where we are at right now. You can see where we've added some gold, we've blended some orange in here, and it's starting to come together, but there's still a lot more I need to do to this. I really feel that I need to add the same Woodubend trim to the doors, add the gilding wax. I'm going to probably take some of the gilding wax and run it through these. Maybe I'll just do it right now. Let's take a peek and see what it looks like. Why not? So I'm using my brush. I'm just going right on these, right in the. Now, actually, I'm using this in a valley, even though I just said peaks. That's when you're using your fingertip and you can get on it. But this you can actually paint in the, if you want to. This is just for added detail. So what do you think? See the difference between this side and that side? I'm digging the gold. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on this side real quick. Just making sure that's dry. The paint's still a little bit wet, so I'll probably have to go back over it and make sure when it's all dry. This is going to be my fall piece. Every year I do a fall piece for our open house, and this is going to be it. This is going to be the centerpiece. Ta-da! Wow. All right, so, yep. Been on for about 30 minutes, and I think that's probably about long enough. I'm going to have to finish her, but I'm going to finish her offline. I will be posting the whole process on my YouTube when it's all done. Of course, I'll be posting pictures on Facebook and Instagram so you can see what I've done. If you know anybody that's interested in gilding wax, Woodubend, or any of that stuff, share the video with them or on your page, whatever. If you're local, stop and see us September 4th, 10 to 4 for our Fall Frenzy. We are going to be having prizes, a couple sales, we're going to have treats, and you'll be able to meet the different vendors in their booths. So stop in and see us and get your fall stuff. Okay, so thank you for joining me, and you guys have a fabulous day.